Good morning, everybody. It is 11 minutes past 7 o'clock right now, and as they always say, Jackie, it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Absolutely.
So we're going to be talking about some things that people at 5 o'clock usually indulge in.
Well, that and what do we love talking about here in our program every single day? History and how it relates to our great state of Iowa. And we're going to talk a little bit about that because there's a big anniversary right around the corner. And when we're talking Prohibition, when we're talking liqueurs, of course, we're talking about Jeff Bruning with Full Court Press, who has his hand on a lot of great events that revolve around wonderful establishments and, of course, booze going along with that. So how are you putting this all into play with a wonderful event around the corner?
Well, so in 1919, January, they had just ratified Prohibition, the 18th Amendment. And so this Thursday will be the 100th anniversary of that ratification. On the 17th, the next day, is when Prohibition started. So we're not really celebrating. We're not big fans of Prohibition.
I was going to say, not the Prohibition part, but the ratification.
We're commemorating. We want to remind everyone that that's what it was. And the next day was the first day that Speakeasy started opening up across America. And right now we're in the process of putting one together called Ken's. Which is Ken's is in reference to a man named Kenneth Sonderleiter, who was they called it the Society's bootlegger for Des Moines. He was the most notorious and biggest bootlegger here in Des Moines.
Really?
And we thought we'd pay him some respects and open up a place after his namesake in the basement of the Iowa Taproom.
So bootlegger, do you mean he would actually shuttle the product from here to there? And
he would get with Joe Earlbeck from Templeton Rye and other people who produced liquor, and also brought it in from Canada and all over, and stock it and sell it. And the first time I ever read about it was in this book about Templeton Rye, and the called Gentleman Bootlegger, and it told this whole story. And I'm like, well, that's a good name for a place. So,
Ken's.
Wow.
I like it. There you go.
It's got to be Ken's. It can't be like Ken's Bar and Grill.
No.
It has to be in reference to maybe a name or whatever, but it can't be, anything that lets you know that it would be a place that sells illicit booze.
It was tea, right? Or coffee? Or
it was whatever. Yeah, I think that a lot of times I did serve it in coffee
cups and things like that. Absolutely. And you keep mentioning one company over and over again because they also have a rich history here locally, and that's Templeton Rye. And Tim Grimes joining us here from Templeton Rye. Okay, so let's talk about how this is all working together for Last Day of Freedom.
Sure, and just like Ken's was born during Prohibition, so was Templeton Rye. Templeton Rye was born out of that era, and we weren't a distillery then, but we were a town and a people who all bootlegged. Everyone in that area was producing. You can't find anybody in that town that doesn't have a grandfather or a grandparent or a great-grandparent that wasn't making product. And one of those great people was a fellow named Alphonse Kirchhoff, who is our co-founder and co-owner's grandfather, who was really well known for making the good stuff, which is our tagline at Templeton Rye.
The good stuff.
Yeah, and we came up with the brand Templeton Rye, to honor those people and to honor Alphonse, and that's how Templeton Rye came about. It'll be 14 years this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, what made Templeton Rye so unique?
What made it so unique was it was just a really smooth, really easy to drink and to access whiskey. A lot of whiskey back in the day was kind of moonshiny, if you will, and that's not really a word, but it had this moonshine quality to it. The longer you age a product in oak and the better you make it, and which we do, ours is a minimum 4 years, and that's what Alphonse did. He aged his product as long as he could and was just a really good whiskey maker. And being known for that was really important. Jeff had mentioned a fellow named Joe Earlbeck. He was kind of the kingpin of the area. And he was responsible for getting whiskey to Kansas City, Chicago, New York City, places all around the country. And that's what Alphonse did. He provided whiskey to him so that he could get it around the country.
Yeah, then the word got
Iowa whiskey.
Then the word got around the country too that this was, as you mentioned, the good stuff.
Correct. And as a matter of fact, in honor of that, just like we're doing an event here this Thursday at the Iowa Taproom, we're also doing one simultaneously on the 16th in Chicago and New York City, the same, and we're calling it the Last Night of Freedom.
Oh, really?
So we'll be doing the exact same thing in those major cities, and we're doing it here in Des Moines too.
That's awesome.
That is pretty cool. Okay, so let's talk about this event, Last Day of Freedom. Don't worry, folks, we're not going back into Prohibition, but we might as well celebrate something that happened so many years ago because it is part of our history.
Right.
So give us all the details. How can we participate?
It's a free to attend event. It's in what we call the Joliet room. We have 2 party rooms at the Iowa Taproom, and this one's in the smaller one in the back room. So it kind of has that feel of the back room of the Iowa Taproom.
Yep.
And it's from 6 to 9 this Thursday. We're featuring 4 different cocktails from Templeton Rye, different foods, and it's just basically just a party. It's a way to kick it off. It's a way to maybe it's a way to also start introducing people to the idea that we're going to have what we call Ken's Not So Secret Speakeasy, because it is going to be kind of a wide open thing. You can't just walk in. We'll point you to it. But sometimes for events, we'll shut it down. We're not quite done building it because we're quickly getting ready for Prohibition, 100 years later, and trying to pull this all together. But it's in the basement. It's in I wanted to open up a place that's very much like what I would have thought it would be like. Nothing fancy, but it's going to be pretty nice. But it's not going to be like all chandeliers and over the top like you see in the movies, because that's the movies, right? They just uncovered one in somebody's basement, and if you saw the pictures, there's nothing fancy about that. It was just a place where you kind of hit off to the way. We're going to have very simple drinks. We're going to have Iowa-made distilled spirits. And we're going to try to bring in really cool stuff, but featuring and working hard with Templeton Rye. My great-grandfather made illicit booze, and I'm from Carroll, Iowa, and Templeton is in Carroll County.
So it's in the blood.
It's something I couldn't escape it. So we just wanted to celebrate it, and that's what it's going to be. It's just going to be a fun night to taste some of Iowa's best product, Templeton Rye, in 4 different cocktails, and just kind of think about that time and place.
I just like the variety that we have in front of us too, from Templeton Rye too. You really have expanded.
Thank you. Yeah, we're continuing to innovate, and this is just the start of some really exciting things to come. Even in this new year in 2020, we've got some new items coming. So
absolutely.
Keep your eyes peeled.
I love how you're saying illicit booze.
No, this is all legally bought. You can see the state stamps on this.
The state stickers around it.
Very fun. So you want to head to the event this Thursday, one to kind of celebrate part of our history, but also to kind of give a sneak peek of what's going to be happening at Ken's. So that's going to be at the Iowa Taproom this Thursday. Remember, you do need to be 21 and older. That makes sense as we celebrate the last day of freedom. Always great things happening with Full Court Press and all the amazing organizations you have. But Tim, remind everybody, as you mentioned, you guys are continuing to thrive and grow even in these new years. So if people want to come and take a tour of Templeton Rye and learn a little bit more about the history, how can they do so? Yeah,
please come out to the distillery, call ahead. Tuesday through Saturday, we do 4 tours a day. And if you guys contact us and give us a holler, we'll set you up. We have a full museum and visitor center you can visit. There's a wonderful distillery. We have a 55,000 square foot maturation room, and you can just come and see where we've grown this brand today.
Where
and it's pretty amazing, where the magic happens. And it's worth the trip.
You would not believe you're in Iowa. It is a great, I've been through the museum and the tour a couple times. It's so great. It's great to come back home and see something neat happening in our, we have a winery, a brewery now, and the distillery's been there for a while, and it's just a great trip to Carroll County. It's a good time.
Road trip time. Yeah,
there you go.
Exactly.
Great things are happening, and it's all part of our history that happened many years ago and continuing to thrive now. You're watching Iowa Live here on CW Iowa 23. Don't go anywhere. We want to celebrate you. Coming up next.